Thank you for joining me today on my sewing journey. This week I've been working on an easy tote bag, and this is how it came out. Now, the first thing you want to do is determine what you're going to carry in it, because that will determine the size. After you've determined that, you want to decide if you're going to line it. You don't have to line it, but if you choose to do a lining, that would be done first. And the first thing you do is draft your pattern. Now I drafted my pattern. You don't have to notch your side seam, but that will give you the square look if you do, but you don't have to. If you feel that that's just totally unnecessary, you can just sew it straight down and then the bottom. But if you want it this type of square bottom here, and you want to notch it out like 2 inches. Now, when you're sewing your lining, make sure, because it makes it easier, that you hem your top. And when you go to do that side seam, if you notched it, you're going to fold it like this and then sew across. And that will give you that square. Now, if you want a pocket on it before you sew your side seams up, sew your pocket in, because that makes it a little easier. You could do it afterwards, but it's easier to do it when it's not sewed together. And if you want one of these little ring things on there, you take a piece of fabric for however long you want it, fold in all the raw edges, and then sew it down, and then put your ring on it, and then sew it on there. That's for holding like keys or holding like a little extra little change purse or whatever on there. Next, you'll cut out your top fabric and decide whether or not you want a pocket. Now, this pocket, you could put like your initial on it, or you could take ribbon and do your initial and ribbon, or embroider something on there, or put a felt with your initials on it or something. But you'll want to do that before you sew your pocket on there. Then you'll decide how wide you want your handles and how long you want them. And you'll sew your handles into one long tube, turn it to the right side, and then right to the bottom all the way up and around and onto the side. You'll sew that on before you sew your side seams on both sides of your bag. Before you sew your side seams, if you want a darker color for the bottom so it doesn't get dirty so fast, you will sew that across the bottom and notch the corners. And if you want a top band, you'll sew that on too. So you'll do all this lovely little cranberry color first before sewing your side seams on, because it's a lot easier. Then you put your side seams together and sew up both your sides. And then you sew your bottom, and then you notch it just like you did the lining. Now, those of you that didn't want the lining, you're done. If those of you who want the lining, the easiest way I did it was just put the lining bag right inside the bag and then stitched all the way around the bag, and that's how I did my lining. And as you can see, quite an easy bag. Now, those of you that want it to stand up more on its own, you would starch it. And after each washing, you would starch it again, and then it will stand up on its own. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for all who view and all who subscribe, and happy sewing.